This show is for everyone working at the coalface. Digital, business, marketing, social. This is At the Coalface with your host, Jason Greenwood. So first of all, thank you very much for joining me today, Justin. So I'll just do a very brief intro for you. So this is Justin Dry of Vinomofo fame and co-CEO, co-founder. And he's graciously accepted my invitation to come and be on At the Coalface today. So thank you, Justin, for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Jason.
Awesome. Maybe for those of, there's probably all of about 2 people in the world that haven't heard the Vinomofo story, but for the sake and for the benefit of those that haven't actually heard your story, maybe you can just give a 2-minute elevator spiel, so to speak, about Vinomofo and how you guys got started, just the genesis of it.
Cool. All right, 2 minutes. You're hopeful. All right, so it started off. My brother-in-law Andre and I, he married my sister. They met first, so just to clarify, it's not that weird stuff when your best mate starts dating your sister. We decided it was a good idea to go into business together in 2006, I reckon, and we were at Christmas and we were drinking too much wine, and we thought it was a great idea. And so the next 4 years were hard, very, very hard. We started with a business called Quaff, which was like a Facebook for wine. I can tell you the stories, but that's like about a half an hour. So I won't. We pivoted the model, to use a cliched term, a little bit in the startup world, 4 times before that we finally settled on Vinomofo in 2011. I pitched it to Andre in late 2010. I could see the market was ready for it. We had built up over the last 4 years this great wine, younger wine nerdy audience, and I could see that style of business, that model was coming out from the States, and it was starting to land in Australia. It was like the daily deals group buying type thing, and we had the audience. We had this amazing network of really cool, upcoming and legendary wine kind of makers and producers, and so we had like this. It was like this perfect timing, network. Audience and model all coming together at the right time, and we were like, okay, we've got to do this. So that was late 2010. Andre reluctantly agreed because we had about 4 businesses on the go, but none of them were making that much money. So I was like, well, I reckon this one might actually work. And we so convinced him to come on board, and then we started building in early 2011, and we launched April of 2011, and it was originally going to be called Vino Mojo. About 2 days out, we got a cease and desist around a trademark issue. The long version is we called it Vinomofo for the motherfuckers that we're trying to steal our mojo. I don't know that. I swear on this podcast, but so it was originally going to be called Vino Mojo. About 2 days out, we got that cease and desist trademark. Called solicitor said you'll win, but they'll be able to get an injunction to stop you trading for a period of time. So here we are. We've gone all in on this thing, and we have to change names 2 days out. So we do what we do. We got opened a couple of bottles of wine and tried to come up with a name that we could change it temporarily. And then when we fought the trademark, we'd change it back. So we needed it to be really similar, so we didn't have to redesign everything. And so we were going, all right, Vino Mojo, 1 bottle of wine down. Vino Moto, Vino Modo, 2 bottles of wine down. And eventually I just went... I was like, why don't we call it Vinomofo for the motherfuckers that are trying to steal our mojo? And we were like, no, that's so funny, but we can't. And then like, we kept coming back to it, going, but can we? And then eventually we were like, you know what, it'd be really funny, and it kind of makes us stand out, and it'll be a good PR story. And then when we win, we'll change it back to Vino Mojo. Long story short is we didn't change it back. We won the trademark, despite not even fighting it, but it just took off. The name kind of resonated.
Stuck.
Yeah, and people started calling each other Mofo and Mofet, like Mofos and Mofets, and this whole vernacular thing kind of built around, and it really made us stand out. And it's one of those kind of weird, lucky kind of things that happened in the journey. And we'd always been about democratizing wine and getting rid of the bow ties and BS that existed a long time ago. And just, we want everyone to be able to experience good wine, and calling your wine company Wine Motherfucker, it kind of aligns quite nicely with that. So anyway,
it's got a level of irreverence to it
exactly.
I think it took on a life of its own in some respects. My father was an entrepreneur all the while I was growing up, so I was used to very much the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. And I'm just wondering, was there anything in your past or your childhood or anything that really pointed you down the path of entrepreneurship, did you break the mold in your family?
No, so Dad was an entrepreneur. He'd started a few businesses, mixed results as well, but that's what happens, I guess, if you're an entrepreneur. I was starting stuff since I was like 10 or 12. My first business was a lawn mowing and car washing round in my neighborhood as a kid. Like I didn't necessarily love the selling of it. I just loved creating businesses. I was reading, my first book was Think and Grow Rich when I was like 12 or something,
Awesome.
the Bible for us self-development business type people.
Oh yes. It's kind of like The Secret, all that stuff,
Yeah, exactly. It's and so that kind of changed my life a little bit. But so the first business was that. I had my first employee when I was, within about 6 months of that business, and it was my cousin. And
Cool.
it was a really good lesson. Yeah, exactly. It was a really good lesson in hiring good people because he'll be forever known as Lazy Ben.
That's cool.
But and then the next one I rolled into, I was selling Christmas trees on the street corner. 3-4 weeks out from Christmas, I was going up to bribing Dad to go and pick me up some Christmas trees, with a ute and selling them on the corner, and that actually went pretty well. But that was another lesson in stock management. I got all cocky about how well it was doing, and about two days left in the kind of long weekend before the last long weekend before Christmas, I called the Christmas tree farm and I was like, "How many Christmas trees do you have left?" Because I was selling out, and the guy's like, "Oh, we've got 40 or so, 43." So, and I was like, "Great, I'll take them all." And I was like, "But bring them down to me, and I'll take them all." And he's like, "Done." And you should have seen, they were the worst, straggly, like single-branched Christmas trees, and I already paid for them and agreed to it. So I was left with about, 15 or something like that of the worst, ugliest, most poor excuses Christmas trees. And they lived down the side of my house as this constant reminder for 2 years, just brown and dying. I was like, oh my God. And that was a really good lesson in stock management. But anyway, so then I rolled in and I did lots of stuff through my teens and 20s, and some went really, really well. I was a stockbroker for a while, trading shares in the tech boom, lost money on the crash, and
didn't we all?
Yeah. I was, it was like everything I touched was gold. I got in right at that moment when it was just going nuts. And then I was leaving as it was just in the early 2000s, and so that was fun and also really disappointing towards the end. I did go into some property, did that for a while, but I always had this passion to get back into wine, and that's where there's this intersection of time where Andre was looking to do something. He was a bit of a wine lover. I was wanting to get back into wine because I'd studied it at uni. I'd worked in the industry on and off. My ancestors planted some of the first vines in the Barossa.
Wow, that's cool.
So it's in the DNA, and a few of my family members are kind of in that space as well. So I was like always super interested in business, super passionate about wine, and it was the timing just came together at that moment when Andre was also looking to do something, and tech was always interesting. I was always reading TechCrunch and those types of kind of tech blog things.
Yeah,
and
NetGuide and all that stuff, right?
It was just that moment, and just unfortunately the first 3 pivots in that model weren't very good.
But it was building an audience that you still leverage to this day, right? I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. It was relationships and audience that we built over those years. So we were like a charity in the wine industry for about 4 years. Everyone got better. The first one really had a bad business model. The second one had an okay one. Third one was better, and then Vinomofo. But all through that, like you said, we were like sleeping on the couches and doing this of the legends of the wine space. We were traveling around in a combi filming this show called Road to Vino, and meeting like the absolute legends and all the cool kind of hot up and coming kind of wine guys, girls. And so with those friendships and that network, and then that audience, when we launched Vinomofo, we were asking these great wine personalities to give us their wines at the best price the world had ever seen. And at the start we couldn't buy very much, so the only thing that got us through was our friendships, nothing to do with our buying power. And so we leveraged that for a while, and then 2011 we launched it, and Vinomofo just took off.
Just went crazy. It was Gary Vaynerchuk an influence at all in those early days for you? With obviously his wine background and his social background and digital and everything else, was he an influence at all in those early days?
You know what? I've met Gary a few times now. I know a lot of his team quite well, and is a legend. Love him. And to be honest, when we started, we started doing wine video, kind of like an online wine show. And I guess similar in a way to what he was doing with Wine Library, but it was called Quaff TV, which was our first business. And it's so funny looking back at that stuff. We were having so much fun. But you know what? We didn't actually know about him. We were doing it in parallel. And,
wow.
And so we didn't actually know about him, but he started a few years earlier, but I had no idea. And then we were filming a show, and then someone. Then I don't know how we came across him, and I was like, "Oh my god, this guy's crazy but cool."
He's like an American version of me.
Yeah. It's like the American version of us, and then also like it's a huge audience. It's a huge audience over there, and he was just nailing it, and he was just out there doing cool stuff. And I like the fact, and we've followed similar paths in a way that we've investing in other tech companies, and we've gone all in on digital and social and all those things. So I'm really really impressed by him, and it was a real honor to kind of hang out with him a bit, and yeah, I don't know, it's crazy good to see how well he's going. He's really evolved into this business mogul who's just dominating, and it's friggin' awesome to see.
It's awesome that you have that, I guess, that little bit of historic connection with him, because that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on here. So that's just awesome. Yeah,
he is an inspiration, and I keep since we have known about him, and which has obviously been a long time now. He's been in this game for a while now, but I still watch his stuff all the time, and it's still interesting, it's still fascinating, and it's exciting, and it does get you up and about, and we're still learning stuff. We're still learning a lot of stuff, and he's an inspiration for a few of the things that we kind of get involved in. So a lot of respect for the man.
Nice. How about the guys over at Atlassian? I mean, obviously Atlassian is probably one of the most famous tech companies. They waited for a very long time to take any VC money, just like you guys did. And maybe you can wrap up your response all around this and tie it into kind of your VC round as well, and how you guys waited for a very long time before you took any external investment funds. You're from everything I've read, you're a bit of a control freak in that department, and you want to run things your way, which totally makes sense for an entrepreneur, right? You don't like to have golden shackles put on you, so to speak. But do you know the guys over at Atlassian? What do you think of the stuff that they've done, and how long they waited, how long you waited, and you guys went a little bit of a similar path in terms of kind of shunning the investment community to a degree because you wanted to do your own thing.
All right, so there's a couple of things in this answer. That one's embarrassing. I dropped my phone the other day, and I cracked the screen, and I'm about to show you a picture because on the weekend. See if you can see that.
Yes.
All right, see that? Okay. That's Mike Cannon Brooks' parents I was hanging out with on the weekend.
It was a good question to ask then.
That's his dad and his mum, legends. But when I say Mike's dad's actually called Mike as well, so it's Mike Cannon Brooks. I've hung out a little bit more with Scott than Mike, but we're going away together at the end of January, just to kind of get to know each other better. And they're an inspiration. They've done incredibly well. Their business is killer. We've been using Atlassian for a long time in business with the dev team, and I'm incredibly proud what they've done. And them being Australian, it's really bloody exciting. But anyway, enough fanboying on people,
No, look, I'm a fanboy of Atlassian. I mean, I've been obviously being in digital. I've been using the Atlassian stack for 7 years, so certainly I'm a huge fan of their product. I'm a huge fan of kind of how they've approached the market, how their recruiting model in terms of all the content they put out around their corporate culture, and it's they do draw the best of the best, really, that's pretty much available in Australia and now globally, and it. I have just a tremendous amount of respect, not only for the product that they've built, but how they've gone about getting that respect in the marketplace, doing the right recruiting, keeping that corporate, well, at least from the outside looking in, keeping that corporate culture. And that probably leads into, not only your feedback on delaying, I guess, getting investment funding, but how do you retain that corporate culture in the midst of that venture funding as well?
Yeah, so we've so as you said, we kind of did delay our funding for a while because, to be honest, we just didn't need it. We were profitable from day one with Vinomofo, and significantly so. So we were growing really, really fast. We we were the fastest growing tech company over a 3-year period in Australia. It was ridiculous. It was like 1,800% or something, and we won the Deloitte Fast Tech 50 thing, and so it was this moment when everything was like, and we were like, after 4 years of business together, which didn't really work, we were just like, oh shit, don't stuff it up, like
don't touch anything.
Yeah, just don't touch anything. It's working. But we've had so many challenges along the way, which I'll fill you in a bit more about. But so the reason we delayed it so long was because we didn't need it, and we were profitable and we were growing super fast. But take it back to 6 months in, and this business that wasn't well funded. We had very little money, but growing. It had all the right metrics. We started getting these great producers that were great friends of ours. The deals that we were getting from them, leveraging our friendships as opposed to deep volume, even though it was growing, it wasn't. We were like, hey, can you give us the best price you've ever given anyone, and we might take like 5 cases. And they were like,
but we're going to keep you involved when we grow, because we're growing.
Yeah.
When we're big, we're not going to forget you.
Yeah, exactly. But thankfully, within the first day, I think we were selling 40, 50K, a day, like, of that one wine. So we were instantly big enough to be interesting. But what was happening about 4 or 5 months in, I think it was, these friends and producers were starting to not be as giving with their wines, and started actually occasionally calling us when a deal would go up live and asking us to pull it down. We're like, what the hell is going on? And we found out through digging, through friends, that there was a lot of pressure being put on them by the big guys in the space, going, well, if you sell to Vinomofo, we're not gonna sell your wine. And which is ridiculous, and trying to crush the little guy that was disrupting the space, but not unexpected, you would imagine.
Yeah.
But anyway, so when that pressure came on and our deals started drying up a bit, we were like, oh my God, this thing that is amazing and growing and people love it, and there's real energy around it, may just die a slow death because we can't get enough deals or enough wines to go. And so
so you went from don't stuff it up to, oh my God, we need to fight this anti-competitive behavior effectively.
Yeah, exactly. And so the decision was we either needed to raise some capital back then, which was in the first year, or we needed to partner up with a big player who had an audience, like a media player or something like that. And so we went out looking. We went out to the angel network, looking for, at that time it was like small money compared to where it is now, but I think we were looking for a few $100,000, like $300,000 or something. And we went out to the angel network, who we'd pitched to before in previous businesses. In previous businesses, at the end of the pitch, no one put their hands up. And then at the end of this one, like, every single hand went up, so we were in. And so then we started negotiating, and then by the time we went through the negotiation, and it was quite a slow process, like there was too many people involved, and we were just like, oh, this is really painful. By that time, we were doubling every month at least, and so the cash was in. So the cash wasn't really a problem because we were cash flow positive, we were profitable, and we'd sell the wine as soon as we got it. So we, if you're on 30-day terms, we were kind of ahead.
It's easy,
cash flow business. And so it was a beautiful model. And so then we realized that we didn't actually need cash. What we needed was like a huge partner. And so we were approached by a big media player in Australia that had millions and millions of people as an audience, and we went down that path and started negotiating with them to give them a slice of the business and for access to their audience and a little bit of cash. And we went all the way through with that to the almost the very end point, and the exclusivity period ran out because they took too long.
Oh, God.
And we were like, oh, this is just so painful, because if this is what it's like when they're trying to buy a part of you, what's it going to be like when you're in business with them?
Yeah.
And so we just started getting these kind of warning signs, going, oh wow, this is not
It's
a
like
good sign.
the jitters,
So,
right? You're kind
yeah,
of
we're getting the jitters about what that relationship would look like longer term. Even though they were nice people, good guys, just layers and layers as you get into big business.
But it kills your momentum, right? So, I mean, how important is momentum in that kind of scenario where you're going, man, we're growing at an astronomical rate. We need to be nimble. We need to be quick. We need to adapt to the market. And these guys are just going to be a boat anchor.
Exactly. Especially with the pressure from our external sources on the business, it was just, we needed to do something as soon as we can. So anyway, we got out of exclusivity, and because we were trying to do the deal by Christmas, because we'd had like 4 or 5 pretty friggin' average Christmases with the family having no money, and
You felt like the Christmas Grinch, right?
yeah, well, yeah, it's really awful because I'm a real family person too. So, Andre being my brother-in-law is married to my sister, which means if I'm having a shit Christmas, my sister's having a shit Christmas too. Yeah. And so, you don't even have the, parts of the family that are like having this amazing kind of time. No, everyone's connected. So we're all having a really average time at Christmas. So we were trying to.
There's no boats at this stage, right?
No, there is no boats. There's no anything.
There's no
really.
wine on the back of a boat sitting in the sunshine.
Mate, I was riding a scooter at this stage through the winter. This was not. I didn't even have a rain jacket. This was awful. But
this is bones of your ass kind of stuff here.
Yeah, this was. I was bones of the ass stuff. And so was Andre, obviously, because of the business, and so hence my family was. And anyway, so then we were trying to time it for like Christmas, and we're going to have this amazing Christmas. We're going to open champagne. It was going to be, all the food, all the presents. It's going to be really fun. And then they said, "Oh, sorry, we're not going to make it by Christmas." And we're like, "Oh, yeah." We're like, "Oh God, really? No."
And now they're the Christmas Grinch.
Yeah, exactly. And then we were like, "All right, that's the final straw." And exclusivity period ran out. And in early January, got approached by a company called Catch of the Day, and they were like biggest online player.
Famous, right? Like,
yeah,
wow. And you must have just been, did you freak out? Like when that offer came through, were you like, oh my God, this is like all my Christmases came at once?
Yeah, well, because as a young guy, my dream was to, start businesses that then were like interesting to really big players that were going to try and buy me. And I was going to be in business with these amazing entrepreneurs, and that was always my dream. And so then when you've got like a big media player trying to buy you, and then you've got like the biggest of the online players wanting to like buy you, they wanted to buy the whole thing, but we wanted to keep in some. And so we're negotiating with them. So it was surreal a little bit that we were here, but then that's happened our entire journey where you get to this point and for a moment you're like, oh my God, what's going on here? And then you just quickly get over it and you move on to the next stage. And then 5 years later, you look back and go, what the hell just happened in the last 5 years?
Yeah.
Because now, we're a big business. We've got like 130 people. We're in 3 countries. It's nuts. It's just nuts what's happened. But it's very rare that you'd sit back and go and appreciate it, like those moments, which I'm getting better at now, where you have a milestone and you sit back and go, Andre, Dustin, let's open a bottle of wine and let's just appreciate this moment because this is really, really special. Whereas for the first 5 years, it was just head down, bum up, run it at 1,000,000 miles an hour, never appreciate anything really, just work. We still do that, but we have those moments.
Anyway, stop and smell the roses in to coin a phrase, which is kind of appropriate for wine, being at the end of the end of the rose of wine there.
Yeah, exactly. And at least if it's 35 seconds of smelling roses, at least do that.
Yeah.
And then go hard. But so we got to this point where they were trying to buy in, and we did that. We negotiated a really good deal. Really funny. We were reading books on how to negotiate, and because we didn't know what we were worth or how you did it, so we just read this book, and it's all about bracketing, and it was like find a number. So I read it first, and on the plane over, I gave it to Andre and said, just read this chapter, and
nice.
And it was
it's like the art of the deal, but like cramming.
Yeah, exactly. And it was all about this bracketing. So the idea was you pick a number when you're trying to sell your business or get do a deal that is so high that you can't almost keep a straight face. So you've got to be able to keep a straight face, but you need a number where you almost lose it and can't keep a straight face. So let's say as just an example, let's say it was $100 million, which it wasn't because it was a lot smaller than that.
Yeah.
But let's say it's like you go $100 million, and then they will generally come in and bracket you down at a lower amount.
Yes.
And so they go 20, and you're like, oh, are you kidding me? And you kind of work your way down and get into a middle point.
It's like buying a car.
Exactly.
It's negotiation. There's what the dealer wants, and then there's what you want to pay, and sometimes you eventually meet in the middle.
You've got to give them a number that you don't expect, and they give you one that. But if you don't know that game and you go in with your price, they'll always bring you up or down or whatever the deal is. But But if you go, well, I know you're going to undershoot, so let's overshoot and let's like work it out so we both feel like we're winning, but we're finishing on a fair number.
Yeah.
And so this book was amazing. And so when we went in and we set our number in front of the entire board of people who were made up of incredible business people in Australia, you know, like international guys as well, but just like the who's who were on that kind of board.
Like basically Shark Tank, effectively.
Yeah, but like heaps more people.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just surrounded by like incredible people. But anyway, and they're like, oh, what are you worth? And we're like, oh, this. And we were like, oh, God. And there was silence in the room. Like, oh, what have we done? Yeah. And then they're like, are you kidding?
Did they go? Did they? Was their first question? So, how did you arrive at that valuation, Justin?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I can't remember. I think I've got a mental blank from that because it was so.
Because you were so stressed. It was like, holy shit! I can't believe I'm here for a start off, and I can't believe that number just came out of my mouth.
Yeah. And then you're going, shit, maybe we did go too high. And then they offered us something much lower, and then we actually, because we'd got to the point. It was really interesting because we got to the point where we talked about this number so much, even though it was way higher than what we were expecting, we almost talked ourselves into believing that we were worth that number because we needed to go in confident.
Nice.
And so when they gave us the much lower number, we were like, nah.
You're like, I'm out of here.
We're out of here. You know, it's like, that's just insulting, that number, you know, that kind of thing. And
it was probably a believable look of insult on your face.
Yeah, because we're really believing our own shit by then. And so it was really fascinating. But anyway, we worked out a number. It was somewhere in the middle, and it was good for everyone. And then we were part of Catch the Day, which was an amazing journey. We stayed with them for about just over 12 months. We hadn't planned to buy it back, but we ended up buying it back. But we learned a lot of stuff. What we did find was they had this big audience. It wasn't necessarily perfectly aligned with our product, though. So there was that, while they had a big audience, that audience weren't particularly in love with our product or that part of the market. So while we did get, you know, lots of new members and customers, probably not completely where we thought it would be.
Yeah.
Also, they had this amazing business and, you know, 5 or 6 different things going on and just killing it. So, and we were such a tiny part of that. So they're
not getting the attention maybe that you thought, man, if we're going to do this, we need a lot more attention. And
well, I think we were confident that we could do it, and we got ourselves, and so we were just looking for, you know, access to the audience and some capital if we needed it.
Yeah.
But we kept going. We didn't need the capital, and the audience we got access to, and then outside of that, it was just, you know, being able to pick the brains of some really smart, successful people. So, and we're still good mates with a lot of them, and you know, they're still running a really good business. So I don't regret it at all. We learned a heap, and in the end, when we bought it back, they were great about it. It was fair, and everyone was happy. And they had bigger fish to fry. You know, there was
pardon the pun.
Yeah. They you know they had bigger things, and so us as a little small business was like, yeah, no, that's great. You guys are doing really well, but you know, we were only ever going to be a small part of that business until, and so when we got it back, it was amazing. And the team, we walked out, I think, when we bought it back, and we had like 13 people, and then within 3 months, it was just this funny thing. So much of our audience came back. Because I think when we went into this big business, even though they are the disruptor against the really big guys, it seemed like we were selling into a big guy.
Yeah.
And even though it was a disruptor big guy, so it was hard for us to fathom, but it made complete sense in the end when we started chatting to our audience again. And they were like, oh no, because it was such a personal journey, and they were so connected to the brand throughout that when we'd sold into this, they kind of felt like they
selling out.
And we didn't need them anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so when we brought it back and they're like, oh, the boys are back, all of a sudden, the audience just came back and like it flooded back, and the business basically doubled in 3 months. So we were sitting there after taking it back going, oh, wow, this is scary, because we gave them all our money back and we were back to having no money in the bank. And, you know, so we were sitting there at midnight on July 1st, 2013 going, oh, wow, this is really exciting. We had that, you know, that nervousness, that kind of moment again.
Sweat beads on the brow.
Beads. And, you know, what if something goes wrong? What if the site crashes? This is hectic. And so at midnight, we're refreshing the page, because at midnight, the money went from their account to our account as far as like 12:01 a sale.
The split, right?
Yeah. And so we were sitting there at 12 going, refresh. refresh, and it's like 12 at like 12:02.
It's like that money's ours.
Yeah,
Yes.
it had a sale and it came through. It was like a couple hundred, like $230 or something like that. And we were all online talking to each other, going, "Oh my God, we're back! We're back! It's working!" And then we were like, "So we just need another $20,000 to pay wages."
Yes, yes. Like this week. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we're so it's super exciting. And then the PR around us coming back into the business and taking ownership, and the audience that were wanting to be back involved more heavily and feeling more connected again. The business once again just, and that was the start of what has now been another 3 years, and the business continues to go nuts, and we are growing fast, and we've just launched in New Zealand and Singapore, and we're going to launch in the US next year. So,
man, it's an exciting story, I tell you. How did it leads quite nicely into the next question, which is really how did you? Because I, as an outsider looking in, I very much see you as more of, I guess, the public face of Vinomofo versus Andre, and maybe I'm reading that wrong, because I know he does public speaking stuff as well, but certainly I guess from being vocal and being kind of out there in the media and very public, and producing posts on LinkedIn and every other thing out there, every other channel out there, and being on Forbes. I saw you on Forbes the other day, and I just about fell out of my chair. I'm thinking, oh my God, here's a wine guy that's on Forbes. That's so cool. And how did that sort of evolve to where you became kind of the public face of the company? And Andre, I don't know, maybe is he more kind of operational? And how do you kind of split that work? Because you're both CEOs and you're both operational guys as well. So.
Yeah, well, funny thing is, it must just be the feeds, the sources that you're seeing that show that, because Andre and I pretty much split everything 50-50. He is a great public speaker, and he's in the media as much as I am, I would say. But I think it's probably you're just seeing, maybe we're connected more closely. So you're probably seeing
similar
my
friends
stuff.
and circles.
Yeah, exactly. So that's probably what that is. But no, we split it pretty much down the middle. He had to leave early from Singapore, so I did all the Singapore stuff.
Yeah.
He had some stuff that he'd committed to back in Australia, so he was only there for 24 hours, and I was there for the full 5 days, and so I did all the media around that. But no, it's pretty fair. And as far as in the business, we've got such great team leads now that have really stepped up to own each of what traditionally would be called departments.
Yeah.
But they are amazing. So. We've got this ability from going from 2 guys in the garage and having to do everything to then, being 30 people and you're still kind of, heard, seen, sitting in the same room, to 100 people with 2% of the thing. Like we can't control the business without help. We can't.
It's impossible.
Make
you can't
decision.
Grow. I mean, you can't scale, right? With just
Exactly.
2 people, it's impossible. So, I mean, I guess delegation becomes pretty bloody important.
Huge.
Speaking of that, you seem like you're incredibly high energy. I mean, I'm 42. I don't know how old you are, but I'm 42, and I'd like to think I'm a crazy energy kind of guy. I mean, I ride an R1, and I'm just I don't sleep, and I'm kind of crazy, and I'm really into health and nutrition. I mean, it makes sense, why I came to sort of be with Health Post and everything. But as it gets back to you, your energy is pretty palpable. Whether you're on stage, whether it's obviously an interview like this, whatever, it's pretty palpable, and obviously the passion for the wine and business and everything comes through, but how important, you look super fit as well. So like when you're on stage, you looked ripped, and I was like, man, he must spend a bit of time in the gym. So how important to you is kind of health, wellness, fitness? I hate that term work-life balance, because I don't think you get that as an entrepreneur, but at least I never did anyway. But how important is kind of that fitness side of your life, that health, wellness, well-being, eating right, staying fit? How important is that to being able to keep your energy level and your passion at its peak?
Okay, so a couple of things. I don't separate business and like social or private life. So I just call it life.
Yeah.
And I love business. I love everything we do. I love so it all kind of blends into one. So I don't really have off. Like off to me is like I don't understand it, because even when I'm hanging out with my friends and my family, we talk about this type of stuff. We talk about what interesting things are happening in this space, in this world, and within our business. And it's so, and I think a lot of people will go, geez, that's really sad, but no, I love it.
Yeah.
This is what I love to do. So I don't see the need for that kind of separation. And, it doesn't mean I'm staying up until 3 a.m. every morning, because we did for a long time. But nowadays we've got such great people around us. I don't have to do that as much anymore. So I do have what people call better balance in my life.
Yeah.
But you know, if I've got a Saturday or Sunday free, I'm like, I've got a big whiteboard and I'm trying to, you know, work out what the next stages are and, you know, what the next global market is and how that will look and what the other opportunities are. And I couldn't be happier, you know, like, oh, you know, a bottle of wine,
naturally,
at the whiteboard, and I'm there. But getting back to the fitness thing, look, I used to be a lot fitter than I am now, to be honest. But and I think getting really, really busy with work can potentially make that harder. But when I say so, I don't know. I'm leading into Christmas this year, going, I'm actually quite tired. This is the first time in a long time. So I'm gonna have a bit of a break. I'm heading over to New York for a couple of weeks. I'm gonna spend some time on the boat just before that to kind of chill out, which I'm getting more and more time to do, which is amazing. But
yeah, I've seen your Instagram feed, man. I'm totally jealous.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place up there. But anyway, but it's funny enough. It's funny that you should mention that because you probably saw me speak 6 months ago or something last time.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was I was being really good. And then the last 6 months, mate, we've been launching this business in global markets. There's been so many events and whatever. I actually feel really unfit.
That's funny because the Mofo shirt you were wearing looked like it was about 2 sizes too small on you. So I was like, okay, he's done this on purpose to look really gigantic on stage.
That's just me blowing up.
Yeah.
Christmas. No, but I think I just had finished an interview with AFR, and there's going to be it was like about, you know, what CEOs are doing for Christmas, and they're like, what's your 2017? It's so funny that we should be talking about this because, like, you know, what's your 2017 resolution? I'm like, geez, I need to get fit again. So it's so funny that you're going, hey, you look really fit. And I'm like, geez, I'm glad you're not here in person to see.
Nice, cool. I've just got that vision in my mind, and I'm just gonna stick with that.
And everyone listening, stick with that, and I'll be back in a couple of months.
Yeah, by the time you speak at the next online retailer, it's funny because I'm actually speaking online retailer in New Zealand in 2017. So if you come across for that, it'll be great to catch up with you.
Yeah, for sure. We'll be over in New Zealand a fair bit as well.
Nice.
With the business being over there anyway, so which is really exciting. That's one of the cool things about launching businesses all over the world. You get to travel to these places and experience not just, you know, as a tourist, but as a business person and connecting with local entrepreneurs and the food and wine scene, and it's really cool.
Awesome. I know we've run over time, so I appreciate you allowing me to monopolize a bit of your time. What's I guess just to kind of round things out a little bit, two final things, a couple of final things. One is you said previously, don't be afraid to fail. It'll teach you more than your successes. So I'd love to know how you handle failure. I mean, I think you've probably pretty much already covered that, which is pretty much just keep going because there's no out. You've kind of burnt the boats, so it's kind of like, okay, I don't have any other option but to keep going. And then secondly, what's next for Justin Dry outside of Vinomofo and Nourish? Like, what's the future look like for you? I mean, obviously you're doing a bit of ventures work and stuff like that, but and a bit of public speaking. But what's next, and how do you handle failure when it happens?
Okay, so firstly on the failure thing, I mean, there's been plenty of failures along the journey, and you know, failure is a weird term for it. You know, I guess challenges is a good one, but I don't think many people do great things without facing a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I've certainly faced my fair share of them, and I think that I could talk about this for like half an hour. I won't, because I know we've got to kind of semi-wrap it up. But there's been some pivotal moments in my life when I've let failure get to a point in, like, personally and emotionally, that was having a negative impact on my life. And so, you know, I was not doing the things I should be. I wasn't exercising enough. I wasn't being, you know, focusing on being positive enough. You know, maybe I was, partying a little bit too hard. And which they don't help.
Yeah, none of those things help, eh?
Not to improve the situation. So I got to a point where I had to there was a particularly low point, around during the quaff days, because it did get really hard. I sold cars, houses. I was on a scooter, riding through the bloody rain, no money, unsuccessful business, all those things. And so, long-term relationship kind of over type thing, and just like it all coming crashing down.
Yeah.
And so I had this moment where it's a practice that I think I learned from Tony Robbins' course. I don't believe all his stuff, but he's generally really positive.
I think he's an amazing inspiration, if nothing else. And as a businessman, I think he's incredible.
Like, absolutely, he's amazing. I've done a couple of his courses. I went over to his island in Fiji last year, and like amazing. And I've been reading and listening to him my whole life.
Yeah,
There's,
same.
like I was saying, some elements that I go, maybe not for me, but a big chunk of them, amazing. And so one of those things, I think it's his, was look yourself in the mirror and imagine you doing exactly what you're doing for a period of 1 year, and then a period of 3 years, and really live and feel it and whatever. And you notice that when you if you're in a bad way and you're doing things that aren't good for your mind, body, soul, you start like creeping forward and down, and you really start embracing it, and you feel awful.
It's like you're almost going to puke, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, tears well up, and you're like, okay, so that's what it feels like now. Just reverse, and then go, what if I did this, and really took it on and got positive and worked hard and worked out and did all the things I need to do. And so it's like 1 year, and then you start standing up a bit straighter, and it's like 3 years, and then you're like, and by 20 years, you're like, yes, let's do this.
I nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it. And so then you walk out like that. And so I'd had this real moment where that was one of the things I did. And that was like a pivotal moment in me going, no, you need to be focusing on that and not getting caught up and contributing to the challenges that you have. So that was the first one. That was a major pivot. And then more recently, I just don't take the failures on anymore as a person.
Yeah.
Like I look at them, I learn from them, but I don't let them absorb into me. It's like, I don't know if you've ever done meditation, but
it's not been something I've been big into, but I've had to rewire my own mind to see the upside in everything, probably over the last 24 months, to where even if it looks bad on the surface, I didn't always used to be able to, but I can always see the upside in it and how I can exploit that upside.
Yeah, and there's a series of questions that that you can do to ask yourself, what's great about this? Those types of questions.
What can I learn from this?
Exactly, all those things. And so those were pivotal moments. But then more recently, as I was saying, I meditate, and I have been for like 5 or 6 years, and it's like amazing. But part of the process in meditation that I've really used with failure is you kind of witness thoughts, but you let them float by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't ever grab them and go deep into them, but you let them slide. And so with failure, I do the same thing. I look at them, I learn from them, but I never embrace them as a human. You know what I mean? I never take them on as a human.
Yeah.
And I think if you can do that, it's a great way to be and a great way to handle failure. So that's the failure side. What was the other
Oh, sorry. The other thing was pretty much what's next for Justin Dry outside of Vinomofo and Nourish. Or is it more of the same and just bigger, better, faster, longer? Bionic Man kind of stuff.
Yeah. So we're going to Vinomofo. We're very ambitious with Vinomofo because we honestly think it's the best way to buy wine anywhere, and so we want to take it. Our mission is to take it everywhere.
Gary might disagree, but sure.
I can't wait. We chatted in depth last time I was there about taking Vinomofo to the States. It was really interesting and it's really fun. So I'm looking forward to, I guess, being in competition with Gary, which sounds weird, but we'll stay. I'm sure we'll stay friendly, but it's just business, it's just business. But anyway, the ambition is to take Vinomofo truly global, which means you want to go US, UK, Hong Kong, China. They're all coming. And Canada, all these places, we want to really make this a global business. So I'm going to be pretty busy doing that over the next few years. And then, because I'll be traveling a lot and being part of that, I don't have many ties in Melbourne as far as I can travel when I don't have kids. Yeah. I can travel, I can do all those things. So I'll be kind of moving around the world, setting up Vinomofo. And then outside of that, I've made a lot of investments in startups, and while some of them definitely haven't worked, some of them definitely have worked.
It's like popcorn, some pop, some don't.
Exactly. And there's anyone who's invested in that kind of early stage, you just got to get one really, really great one and kind of pays for all your mistakes, and then a couple of decent ones and you're ahead. Yeah. And so it's been really fun because I've started making investments a couple of years ago, and there's been 3 or 4 really great ones, and then a whole bunch of ones that I don't think I'll ever see again.
They're never going to hit a 6, right?
I actually think they might be dead now. But
the cool thing is, though, I guess, when you're immersed in startup culture, it remembers you of the hunger that you had, I suppose, when you were more of a startup and more in the startup phase. Because I still consider you guys a little bit of a startup. You're young, you're scrappy, you're hungry, you still want to dominate, you still want to kill everybody in sight, and that's very much startup mentality, and that's awesome. But with the hindsight and the benefit of a lot of wisdom along the way, and so I guess being able to bring that wisdom to startups and being able to add that value over and above the cash. Because at the end of the day, banks will give you cash. But for me, because I've got lots of ambitions and plans in the future. So if I ever get to that point again where I've got a business that's growing astronomically quickly, what I'll be looking for in an investor has got very little to do with money. Actually, it's what do they bring to the table other than the money. So I mean, I guess being exposed to that startup culture and keeping that hunger and sort of sharing a bit of that hunger back with you has got to be a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just love being around people that are doing that. I love, even though I don't have a lot of time these days because of all the commitments we've made with Vinomofo to, take it global, but just being around people like that I love. And I love seeing people doing interesting things. And I think there's an obligation and responsibility if you have done okay in this space.
Send the elevator down, right?
Exactly. And it's the only way you're going to build a beautiful ecosystem that's really charging. Because we understand it and we can help, and we've got the networks, and we can improve the percentage of success. If we get involved. So and plenty of people are doing it, and I love to see it. So no, I think I'll continue to do a bit of that, but it was not going to be super hands-on. In the next few years because I've just got too many ambitions around Vinomofo.
Hey man, that's awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time to be so open and transparent, and this has been the most fun time. Like I said, I just love hearing your story and digging a little bit deeper, a little more, digging some of those nuggets out, I guess, that maybe hopefully nobody's ever heard before. I just really appreciate you being willing to share your story, because I do think it's very inspirational. I think it does speak to the sort of ANZ region, so to speak, and it resonates with people down here of locals killing it and making it big on the global stage as well. So I just want to thank you for your inspiration, your willingness to just give back so much to the community, and spending time with me today. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure the audience will too.
Thank you so much. That was very kind of you to say. I appreciate the time, Jason.
Cool. You have a fantastic day, and get some time out on that boat over the Christmas, I hope.
I will. I've got at least 3 days on. I know that.
Nice. Well, we'll catch up the next time you're in town, or the next time I'm in town over on your side.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Sounds
mate.
good.
Catch you.
See ya.
Next time.
Bye.
See ya.